In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the Holder of Madness. The worker will bow formally, with his hand tucked under his chest, a motion for you to follow him into a waiting room. He will leave and the lights will go out. When they return, 13 seconds later, you will be in a dirty hallway with cuneiform scratchings on the wall. As you walk, the scratches will gradually change to resemble an alien writing. Attempting to decipher the writing will send you into a writhing agony for the rest of your mortal days. As you reach a black orb, shimmering with liquidity, you must speak. We are all mad, for you are the bringer. If the orb comes to resemble a doorway, enter. If the orb begins to rotate, you will be dragged into the nether. In the following chamber, made of twisting black coral, stands a figure ever-changing. In him, her, it, you will see all men, all women, children, animals, creatures, beasts, horrors that exist. It will not recognize your presence unless you extend your left hand and say, I swear an oath to Koth, may the tower ever stand. At that time, he will cease his changing, long enough to place his hands on yours, and your soul will be torn out of your body and placed within a numbered humanoid skull resting on a pile to his left. Touching that skull will bring you to the foyer of an ancient temple lying in the sands of Mesopotamia. That skull is Object 61 of 538. It must converge once more. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask with no hesitation to visit someone who calls himself the Holder of Salvation. The clerk will give a knowing smile and beckon for you to follow. You will be led outside to an old and run-down well with quite a few stones missing, and the clerk will give you a key before returning to his post. If you should look into the well, you will find that an old rusted ladder descends into its seemingly endless depths. Should you choose to climb down, you will hear the wind as it blows past you. It may sound to you like a heavenly dirge or the hellish wails of the damned. There's no way of knowing which you will hear. Should the wind stop at any time, freeze, even if it leaves you hanging by one hand, for it means that an unspeakably hellish creature has entered the shaft. If you stay perfectly still and are very lucky, you will feel the wind of its passing. However, if you should hear a bestial growl, you would be wise to let yourself fall and hope that the bottom of the shaft reaches you before the creature does. After the beast is past, wait a good minute before continuing your descent. You will soon lose sight of the opening of the shaft. Don't bother trying to light up the shaft, for this darkness swallows all light. After what will seem like an eternity, you will reach the bottom of the shaft and remember the touch of light, as there is a single candle down here. As you look around, you will see that you are in a small room only slightly wider than the well shaft you just survived. There will be a single wooden door, nondescript and aging, across from where you landed. Don't bother looking for the ladder, for it has disappeared. Approach the door and knock thrice, lightly. Should you hear nothing, pray for a swift death, for there is no escape for what awaits you now. However, if you should hear a woman's voice say, "Come in, dear, I have been waiting for you," then open the door and slowly enter. You will find yourself in a room no bigger than a closet. A beautiful young woman sits across from you on what will appear to be an aged chest. She will only answer to one question. If they are brought together, what can save us? She will then proceed to describe in horrifying detail the only way to stop them once they are united. Many give up hope in this room, but you must not let that happen. For if you do, the woman will reveal her true form, and your death will be both long and painful beyond mortal comprehension. If you should survive, the woman will let loose an unearthly wail and disappear, leaving only the chest. The key you were given earlier will open it. What lies in that chest is Object 62 of 538. It is up to you whether it should join its kin. As to the tale that the woman tells, let this guard against despair. If what she says comes to pass, the 3 damaged will survive and start again. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask with no hesitation to visit someone who calls themselves the holder of damnation. The clerk will frightfully deny any knowledge of such a thing, but will covertly slip you a toothless key with an engraving upon it, and point you down a certain hallway. At the end of this hallway is a perfectly nondescript door, but for the doorknob, it is made of a stone that is blacker than the deadest night, and should you touch it, you will feel as if your very soul is being drained away. Upon entering the door, you will be in a brightly lit hallway. The walls are lined with drawings, drawn in the style of a child, depicting the dreams of such a child. Do not look at these pictures, for their pleasant appearance is merely a facade, hiding their true nature. Should you gaze upon them, they will surely be the last thing you ever see, for your eyes will be the first to go. The ceiling of this hallway drips blood. If you were to look up, and believe me, this is something you do not want to do, you would see the disemboweled corpses of hundreds, nay, thousands of children impaled to the ceilings on their own bones. Should you reach the end of the hallway, you will find a massive iron door. At eye level, there will be a small sliding plate. Take the key that was given to you earlier and hold the toothless part in your hand, with the A uncovered and pointing directly at the plate. Close your eyes and give one sharp knock on the plate. You will hear it slide back. Resist any temptation to look, for it'll be the end of you. Wait 10 seconds. Count them off carefully. If the key does not change, run. Run as fast as you can and only stop when your legs can go no further. If you feel the key change, however, wait until you hear the plate slide back into place and open your eyes. In its place will be a massive padlock. Unlock it with your newly changed key and quickly enter the room, closing the door behind you. The holder of damnation despises all light. You will be in a dark room. There is no light whatsoever, but you will hear labored breathing from the farthest corner. Do not move closer and do not speak. The only words that will not result in your horrifying death are, who was the first to bring them together? Should you ask, you will hear a voice, neither male nor female, speaking in your mind. Soon it will give up on speech, and the images it creates in your mind will be horrifying. Do not scream, whatever you do, for it will see this as a sign of weakness and end your existence in such a way that only the criminally insane could understand. If you weather its tail, you will notice that specks of light have appeared all throughout the room. A hiss will fill the room, and rise to the most horrific scream you will ever hear as each point of light explodes, lighting up the room. When the light dims, you will see the charred remains of the holder in the corner. Do not move in for a closer look. Dead snakes can still bite. At your feet, you will find a small velvet bag. It contains a flawless crystal star. That star is object 63 of 538. If it is allowed to shine, its light will drive all that see it mad. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get to. When you reach the front desk, cover your ears and ask the worker to see the one who calls himself the holder of nature. If you didn't cover your ears, pray to any and every god you know for relief from what comes next. The worker will stand and begin yelling in an unknown language, in a voice more filled with evil than Satan or any demon in his legion. To hear this voice clearly would corrupt your mind instantly, leaving you to suffer a pain far greater than the fires of hell for the rest of your life. Even with your ears covered, your head will feel as if it were in flames whilst the worker speaks his evil tongues. When he is finished, wait 10 seconds before uncovering your ears, for evil still lingers in the air. After 10 seconds, uncover your ears and put your hand to your forehead, saying, "In the beginning." As you finish saying this, the worker will open his mouth and a portal will appear. Should you step through this portal fearfully, he will close it when you are only halfway through, trapping your soul in the dark abyss that connects the dimensions for all eternity. If you make it through safely, though, you will find yourself in a garden more beautiful and lush than any forest or jungle known to man, demon, and angel. The garden seems to stretch on to infinity, and in front of you, you will see a path. Follow it, but do not stray. For if you do, the beasts of the garden will attack and begin to slowly tear the layers of your body off over what seems to be an eternity, and you will be conscious for all of it. After what may seem anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 months of walking, you will come upon a quaint home. Knock on the front door, and if you should hear a voice saying, "You are not welcome here, stranger," there is no hope for you. No praying will save you here. Your death will be horrible. If you hear a voice saying, "Please come in," you may open the door and go in. He has welcomed you. Inside, you will see an old man in a rocking chair, reading by the fire. He will only respond to one question: what started it all? The man will begin to change his shape right in front of you. The wrinkles on his face and arms will begin to fade, and his muscles will begin to take shape, as if you were getting much younger. He will stand and ask you to come to him. Don't. As much as he may tempt you, do not. Stare directly into his eyes without breaking eye contact. Inquire once more, what started it all? Once you say this again, the fire will jump from the fireplace and surround the man. He will begin to speak in a voice as loud as the roaring sea, yet as soft as a gentle breeze. He will begin to explain the beginning of life, the objects, and of all the universe. When he is finished, the fire will reside, and the man will be gone. In his place will be a marble on the floor. This marble is as red as fire, yet as blue as the sea, as clear as the wind, but as black as the earth. Do not try to comprehend this marble, for it will twist your mind into madness. Pick up the marble, and leave through the door you came through, and you will be back in the main lobby of this institution. The marble is Object 64 of 538. You control the elements now. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit something that calls itself the Holder of Agony. The eyes of the person behind the counter will widen in surprise, as if they didn't understand why they'd recognize the name. They'll sputter for a moment, but their facial expression will soon change to a drawn, furrowed, pensive scowl. They will shudder, turn away, and refuse. You must ask again, and continue asking in a calm, soft voice, even if they weep or scream. Eventually the life will leave their eyes, and they will lead you, with a shuffling gait, to a room with no apparent number down the hall. The worker will open the door for you. As you walk past to enter the dark room, they will land a sharp kick in the small of your back, hurtling you into the room. Whatever you do, do not stop or turn around while passing the worker. Please, just trust me on that. The room will smell simultaneously of alcohol, sanitary wipes, and the metallic tang of blood. You won't be able to see much until the same door you entered through opens, and the gray light from within illuminates a lanky, cloaked figure entering the room. When the door shuts, it'll be darker than before. Immediately you will feel the cloaked figure press itself against your body. Its bony limbs will jab your ribs and stomach as it says, "I know you." Its voice will reverberate through your entire body, and you will feel every type of discomfort, like you're being watched, being molested, like your foot fell asleep, like you're dizzy, nauseous, impatient. Stand perfectly still, make no sound except to ask, why are they in pain? It will reply in its gut-wrenching hiss, I will hold you here for all time and every night. I will mutilate you, rape you, and murder you. You will have no time to brace yourself or think, and especially no time to move, before you feel a wicked, jagged blade thrust into your abdomen and come out the other side. You will feel its rough surface grating against your organs. Do not move. Do not speak. Do not scream. The voice will continue. I will murder everything you love and make your face the killer. I will ruin everything you find beautiful. I will twist your mind until you are as grotesque and perverted as the rest of us. It will not stop. Even a very fiery acidic pain lances through your nerves from the blade in your gut. The pain will stop your breath and perhaps your heart, but you must remain perfectly still. More of the blades will pierce your body in soft places, in impossible places, and the voice will continue hissing as its deadly vows, its baroque tortures that become so creatively inhuman and meticulously soulless that you will be in danger of losing your mind. Stillness is your only defense. If you move, the blades, growing in number from 1 to 5 to 30 to 100 or 1,000, if only you had a chance of counting, will tear away in every direction, forcing every chunk of your flesh and nerves to stay conscious and aware as they are rent apart again and again, forever. Stay still, even as your entire body is racked with agony that couldn't possibly exist. You would be wishing for a reprieve of snake bites on your eyes and razor blades in your nerves. You must listen to the voice carefully, for eventually it will say one of two things. If it says, this glory is reserved for those who have proven themselves, then I can only offer my condolences. Your eternal suffering will be so insanely horrible that anyone on earth who has seen your face or heard your name will have nightmares of your agony even after they have passed on to the afterlife in heaven or hell. Your soul will be a wasted husk. If it says, your whole existence of forever is untouched by this agony, you must reply quickly and confidently, the agony fills us all until they have stopped hurting. For every second it takes to muster your reply through the haze of unbelievable pain, you will suffer from another unique and unerring agony for the rest of your life. If you cannot speak, you will never know another moment without torture, and each day you will consider the prior day's pain to be the tickle of a feather. If you reply correctly, everything will stop, the pain, the hissing, and you will feel the figure once pressed against you crumbling into nothingness. Lift the cloak and you will find a leather pouch. Open it only if you want to know what it would be like for the world to be torn asunder by a plague that even hell wouldn't condone. This tortured dust is Object 65 of 538. Don't run, or you'll never know. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of greed. If a look of ravenous hunger comes over them, run from the institution, for if you do not, you will be eaten alive in the most painful way possible. However, if a look of tired want comes over them, they will take you to a cell in a corridor that wasn't there before. The walls will be made of fine gold and silver, but do not touch it, lest they devour your soul. As you walk, if at any time you hear the sound of coins jingling, stop and yell quickly, "All that glistens is not gold." If it continues, you are damned for all eternity. There's no point in running. However, if it stops, continue. Eventually, you will come to a gilded door. The worker will open it and close their eyes as you enter. As you enter, the door will close behind you. Inside is an exquisite palace crafted of ivory and gold, and wonders that no mortal man has ever built or conceived. Do not dwell too long, as if you do, the world will open under you, and you will be eternally trapped in a world of filth and squalor. If you continue, the palace around you will slowly and increasingly drip blood, until a torrent of blood rains down upon you. Continue, and never look back, and do not stop. Eventually the blood will stop, and you will be in a room filled with gold bricks and treasure. Sitting in a throne of platinum will be a corpse, which will respond to only one question. What do they lust for? It will stand up and begin telling of every want, every desire, every theft. If you manage to keep your sanity, the corpse will motion towards the treasure when it finishes with its story. However, do not take any of the gold or treasure. Instead, look for a small copper coin inscribed with an unknown language. The second you touch it, you will be back in the institution as if nothing had happened, with the coin in your hand. That coin is Object 66 of 538. It is worth nothing and everything. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. Get the front receptionist's attention and ask to visit someone called the Holder of the Cosmos. He will look you up and down. If he mutters and walks away, stay in place. He will return momentarily. Upon his arrival, he will unlock a trap door beneath his desk and motion for you to follow. He will lead you down an ancient, creaking staircase made of wooden planks. It remains somehow suspended in an impossibly large room, the sides or bottom of which you will not be able to fathom. The only light will be from the quickly receding entryway. Vast hulking shapes lumber in the darkness. I recommend that you do not make any noises louder than the gentle squeaking of the stairs. Your guide will remain only a few steps ahead of you, but in the oppressive darkness, his features remain unclear. You'll be descending the stairs for what seems like an eternity. During this time, do not let your thoughts wander. Focus entirely on your objective, the Keeper of the Cosmos. As you think farther into the blackness, wooden planks swaying beneath your feet, your guide's form may seem to shift. It is not a trick of your eyes. If he stops at any time, throw yourself from the stairs immediately. An eternity of falling would be preferable to his torment. However, should he continue to move, you will eventually begin to feel a wind pick up. Far below you, the tops of trees will become visible. Above your head, a vault of stars and clouds. To your sides, a vast and unimpeded horizon, save for one structure far to your right. As you descend further, you can see it is a mansion with a small dirt road leading from it. This part of the descent is incredibly peaceful and will last for several hours. Enjoy it, but do not under any circumstances look back from where you came. The rickety staircase will collapse and you will plummet to your death. Eventually, you will reach the bottom of the stairs. They will have deposited you in a thickly wooded forest, a few yards from a dirt road. Your guide will stop moving. In the sparse shafts of moonlight, filtering down between the trees, you will notice that he has changed considerably. Where once stood a man, now stands a hellish, hulking beast. He will begin to turn. You must run. The staircase you recently descended will have disappeared. Your only choice is the road. The demon is slow, but he will not relent. Run. Run until your lungs burn and your chest heaves. Run until your throat is slick with blood. Until you cannot run any longer. Give up hope. Fall to your knees. Weep. You will feel that demon's breath at your heels, and you will mumble a prayer into the dirt road as you see your life flash before your eyes. At that very moment, as you have lost all hope, a gunshot will roar into the void of the darkened forest at the road. The demon at your back will have been slain. This next moment is crucial. No matter how winded you are, you must stand up and immediately say, "Who is their enemy?" If you wait a split second too long, you will be blown to bits in a similar fashion to the demon. However, if you're fast enough, an elegantly dressed gentleman on a horse will trot out of the darkness a few steps down the road. He appears rather young, and is holding an ornately crafted 18th-century pistol in his right hand. He has several large tomes strapped to the saddlebags of his horse, and bits of script in a foreign language are visible pasted in a fashionable way to the various bits of his clothing. He will slowly approach you, making no move to dismount, but visibly interested in your appearance. You must hold his gaze until he disappears in the opposite direction. Following this exchange, your exhaustion will suddenly catch up with you, and you will find it increasingly difficult to stay awake. Give in to your weariness and sleep. You will awake the next day in your bed, clutching a rough piece of paper. On it, in elegant script, are written the words, "You are a fool. That man is the holder of the cosmos, and he still holds Object 67 of 538. He defends the cosmos from their revival. Now that he knows your intentions, he will do anything to stop you. There is, however, an alternate option. You must already bear the Widowmaker for this to work. Instead, when you rise, ask the holder not who is their enemy, but instead show him Object 186. If you do, his eyes will widen in surprise, and he will dismount. In his hands will be the white, ornate 18th-century pistol he used moments ago to save you. It is the brother of Object 186. He will then ride into the distance, soon fading. The holder of the cosmos has relinquished the Gravebringer, Object 67 of 538. You have freed him, but at what cost? For you must now defend the cosmos from their revival in his stead." In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. Get to the front receptionist's attention and ask to visit someone called the holder of the negative. If the receptionist adamantly refuses to help you, immediately turn, leave the institution behind, and take the fastest possible route home. After a fortnight of hiding, you will know whether their trackers have found you. However, if the receptionist merely nods at you with a stony expression and gestures for you to follow, do so. He will lead you to a seemingly innocent-looking hospital room and leave. As soon as the door locks, push the bed aside to reveal a decrepit wooden trapdoor underneath. Use the bed to block the door. The clock is ticking and the sentinels are already on their way. Open the trapdoor and find a dusty, grimy gray metal coffin in the shallow pit dug into the floor. Open the locks on the side and lift the lid. If the coffin is empty, lay yourself inside and close both trapdoor and the coffin lid. If there is somebody already in there, well, I would recommend trying to snap your own neck before the coffin's previous resident does. You must lie inside the coffin for exactly 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Until this time, do not open the lid. What would come to pass if you did is beyond description of mortal men. When the required time is passed, you may knock twice on the metal lid. If there's no answer, knock thrice more. If the coffin trembles slightly in response, you may push the lid off. If the coffin remains silent, you know your life expectancy is now a minute at best. Push the lid aside to emerge in what seems like the dark, blasted remains of a bizarre underground machine shop. The blotched ochre metal walls and the gray dust of time over the disengaged, quiet computing devices speaks in their own way about the hundreds of thousands of battles which were planned, organized, and miserably lost in the very same room you are now sitting. As alien and intricate as the machinery may be, don't dally. Rise to your feet and reach to your right hand out to find a wall. Fumble around until you find a metal lever sticking out of it. It's roughly at your shoulder level. If the room starts to emit an increasingly loud whirring, do not panic. Instead, call out sternly into the blackness. It's the last piece of knowledge we require. If the whirring dies down, continue your search. If it doesn't, the machinery will engage in their last integration routine with you as their target. When you find the switch, throw it. The last operational generator will start with a painful whine, powering little else but a few good light fixtures around the floor. In the core of the still dim room, you will see a huge brass-colored and impossibly complex mechanical device, which most closely resembles a crossover between an opulent metal throne and a Victorian-era life support system. Amidst the zigzagging tubes, pipes, valves, cogs, and plates, you can see a gaunt, inhumanly frail corpse barely clinging onto its life. As intimidating as the throne may be, enter the creature's presence and matter-of-factly utter the query, "Who scattered them for the first time?" Your question sparks new light in his milky gray eyes, and with the spite and frustration of countless generations, his raspy, mechanically amplified voice, he will recite to you all of the stories, all the tales of vain heroism, every broken union, and all of the heart-wrenchingly disappointing failures of all those who came before you. His contagious despair will punch through your skin, slither past your flesh, and pierce through your bones. But take heed not to lose your focus. He is still their slave, and his corrupted side will readily consume you if given the opportunity. He will tell you of those who first knew of their convergence, how they scattered the objects and broke their unholy union, and what made those first fail and perish. When he is done, he will slowly and painfully extend his hand out to you from within the metal shell. Do not take his hand. Instead, cross your arms across your chest and exclaim, "Your flawed routines are not mine to embrace." Leaning against one of the mysterious devices is a thin, two-pronged metal staff. Grab it, using all the power you can possibly muster, drive it through the only exposed part in his vital body, his head. His death will be swift. When his rotten body and infernal device lies silent, reach inside the metal shell protecting the body and fumble around the inner workings of the machine. As soon as your hand hits a part pulsing heat, yank it out. It should come off easily. Retreat as fast as you can back into the zinc coffin. You have killed the only entity which upheld the order of the place, and it won't be long until the room is going to unmake itself and crumble into the void. Slam down the lid, close your eyes, and if you are lucky, you will near instantly drift off into sleep. When you wake up, you will wake in your own home, in your own bed, tightly hugging a warm chunk of metal to your chest. You would be wise to get rid of the coffin around you at the earliest opportunity. It evokes awkward questions. This corrupted golden gear is the object of 68 of 538. You now know how your predecessors failed. Now it's your responsibility to make sure their errors are not repeated. In any town, in any country, go to any mental institution or rehabilitation clinic. Approach the front desk and ask to speak to someone who calls themselves the holder of the mind. There will form a look of reluctance on the employee's face, which they will hold just long enough that it is barely visible. Then you will be led down a hallway ending at a flight of stairs. The attendant will leave you at this point. Ascend the stairs. They will go on for what seems like miles. If your step falters at any time, or you take time to rest, even a moment of respite, your focus will quickly lose clarity until it fades away entirely. If your consciousness returns thereafter, you may find yourself at whatever place you call home, and the institution will essentially have vanished from existence. If this is the case, thank whatever entity you wish that the least likely outcome came to pass. If your consciousness does not return, then you are still fortunate you did not awaken to find yourself where your more ill-fated predecessors arrived. When you at last reach the apex of the staircase, you will find yourself in a dilapidated hallway, appearing as some portion of a high-rise building. The wall to your left will have many doors. Do not open any of them under any circumstances, regardless of what sensations you feel urging you to do so. These feelings are scarcely more than base trickery. The doors restrain segments of your psyche mercifully shut away. To free them now is a grave mistake. The wall to your right is composed entirely of glass. Looking out this enormous window reveals whatever place you were born in, though entirely empty and devoid of life. Walk the hallway. Its length is variable, so this may take even longer than your recent climb. At the opposite end, you will see a double door set. Unlike many other doors in this hallway, you must open this one, though you may feel reluctance to do so. This is natural. Your mind is still trying to protect you. Overcome this feeling and step into the blackness within. Before long, a single spotlight will turn on from somewhere in the darkness above you, and all things within the spotlight will be made clear. Through its reflected light, you can still see the surrounding area is very slightly illuminated. It is best that you do not look too closely at the shifting images beyond the region of clarity. The rings on the ground will indicate to you that you are in some kind of circus tent, standing in the center ring. Across from you is a stout man with a flamboyant appearance, wearing a lustrous top hat that shades his eyes, blocking them from your view. Ask him, "What in me have they obscured?" Speak clearly, and more importantly, speak loudly. Speak as though you are addressing a crowd of thousands, or the ringmaster before you will have to remove you from the stage in a manner aimed at pleases the beings currently watching. Their sense of entertainment differs significantly from any human. Hope that you do not find out how. If you've appeased the ringmaster, he will crack his whip. The sound will seem impossibly loud, and will be accompanied by a blinding flash of light. He will be gone, and in his place 2 other people will have appeared. To your left stand the objects of your hatred, whomever you have borne resentment towards than any other human you have known. To your right, the one most dear to you, living or dead. These people will appear in the flesh in front of you. Approach your mortal enemy, and wordlessly he will hand you a knife. You will feel a strong compulsion to drive it into his chest. You must resist the surge at all costs. Instead, you must use it to carve the heart from your loved one. They will be conscious throughout and will scream relentlessly for you to stop, crying out to understand why. Do not listen, and do not hesitate in your task, for the audience wishes to see the weak shed blood, and you do not wish to prove that you are a valid candidate. Retrieve the heart and pass it to the ringmaster, who now stands behind you. He will then tell you in great detail your first thought that compelled you to take up your present journey and all the context surrounding it. For some, this once obscured knowledge, replacing a false construction of the mind, can drive them to such desperation as to plunge the knife into their own chest. If you resist this temptation, your vision will blacken, and you will regain consciousness in whatever place you were born. The knife you used will lie next to you. It'll be coarse red, forever stained with the blood of all lives you have caused to end. That knife is Object 69 of 538. You now have knowledge of why you began. If they come together, you will be held responsible. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the map. The man or woman will not look up from their reading materials, memorize the page number, repeat it to yourself firmly. The man or woman will look up annoyed. They will make a snide comment. If you hear, "Another moron," you have found the right place. If there is any other comment, he will lie to you. The man will then start giving you directions. You will not be able to write them down, no matter how hard you try. If you don't follow directions exactly, you will get lost. You will find yourself outside the institution. This will be the worst fate you could imagine. If you follow the directions, you will hear a sound as if an infinite number of hands are writing. This sound will increase as you near your goal. Should this ever stop, breathe deep and yell any information you have about where you started at, including your directions on how to get there. The writing should start up again. If it didn't, you will have to go back to where you began and start again. Don't get lost. At the end of the directions, you should see a door with an electronic lock. The number stained with blood. Stop immediately and you will hear a giggle. Don't turn around. A voice will start speaking under the now deafening sound of quills on paper. Ignore it and whisper one question. Where will I end up? He will go into grotesque detail about an ancient battlefield. At the point when he stops talking, input the numbers of the page the receptionist was reading from. You will wake up in the nearest church to the institution. You will be lying on a map. The map is Object 70 of 538. It will guide you anywhere you need to go, but not to the location of the other pieces.